Greetings, Jeffrey Guterman here with the Strat-O-Matic Network, and please stand by for my interview with Baseball Demos. Please stand by for my interview with Baseball Demos, scheduled to begin at the top of the hour. Well, Baseball Demos requested a mic, but he didn't come on. Hopefully he'll do it again. If you can go out and come back in.
Are we here?
We are here, and
All right. And as soon as I do that, my little microphone pad fell off. So fix that real quick.
Perfect.
And let me get my mute on the computer so I don't have echo. All right, there we go. All right, I got the overhead lights there for interrogation, as you can see.
And is it safe?
It's definitely safe, yes.
Okay, it's great to see you.
Go where angels fear to tread, but we're okay.
I appreciate you being willing to
And I've
do
got my
this.
coffee.
You got
Last
your
cup.
coffee. And is it good coffee?
It's excellent coffee. No complaints
I
whatsoever.
I appreciate you coming
Should I
on.
do it like this, or should I have it the way I had
No,
the first
no,
one?
just like
This is the
that.
better. The vertical is better. Okay.
It's the only way.
Okay. Cool. No problem.
We have people here. They have high expectations,
Okay.
and I have about 15 questions.
Well, you go for it.
And if we run into time constraints, you let me know.
Oh, I don't have a time constraint right now, so.
Uh, I just thought I would start by prefacing this interview with the remark that uh, this is largely for shared understanding
Mhm.
and appreciation of Strat-O-Matic
Correct.
and you. So that's really the purpose of it. I'm gonna just fire away. I
All
don't
right,
know
you
if
go right
you
ahead.
I don't know if you know that guy by the name of Ham is his last name, Ham, and
Is he in
he
Stratomatic or?
no.
Oh,
He's
oh,
on, he's on C-SPAN.
oh, I don't know. No, that name does not sound
Okay,
familiar.
I follow his style, uh, basically. Why don't you start out by telling us where were you born and raised?
Well, I was born and raised in Richmond, Virginia, and I'm still here. Um, I did travel a little bit. I was in the service from 1983 to 1986. I was stationed in Georgia at Fort Benning, Georgia. So I spent some time there.
Thank you for your service.
And then that's how I paid for college back in the day, the GI Bill. So that took the load off my parents to pay for college. And then
Right.
I went to college and graduated from Virginia Commonwealth University with the mathematical sciences degree. Of course, I didn't use that in my working environment, but it gave me a piece of paper, which back then you kind of had to have to get a good job. So nowadays, not so much. But back in the early '90s, if you had that piece of paper saying you graduated from college, you had to step up on anybody else that was going for the job as well. So,
Yeah. And well, what kind of work do you do now?
well, what I did, I used to work for an insurance company. I was in accounts receivable. The glorified title I had was senior account resolution analyst. I would just basically take messed up accounts and try to get them straight. Basically, is what I would do.
Okay.
And so it's part customer service, part bill collector, and part accountant. Kind of a triple thing there.
Yeah.
Then in 2020, of course, COVID hit, and we all had to work from home because we couldn't go to the office because of COVID.
Right.
And it was about that time, maybe a little bit before that, where corporate started engaging what they call offshore partners, i.e., people from India.
Right.
And eventually, my job and about seven others' jobs got cut out because of that, because they could pay people from India a lot cheaper than they could pay
Sure.
us.
Right.
So now they were fair. They gave me a nice severance package. I got a full year's pay without even having to work. I mean, I
Nice.
was there. I was there 26 years. So you get a paycheck for every year you were there. So
Right.
that's 26 paychecks, which every 2 weeks that's 1 year worth of salary.
That's exactly.
So that was nice. And actually, since I was there long enough, actually COVID allowed me to be there past the age of 55, which allowed me to qualify for my pension. So I was able to
Oh,
take my pension when I left as well.
wonderful.
And my financial guy at Edward Jones helped me get all that stuff straight to go in my retirement accounts and everything. So
That's beautiful.
so now I'm working, but I'm kind of semi-retired. I work a very low level job with no stress. Um, just work for a auto dealership and in their parts department, and it's very very low key, very low
Sure.
stress.
Sure.
The pay is about half of what I used to get, but that's okay. My wife makes more money than I do now, so I don't care.
And with the pension,
And with the pension and everything, so
that's fantastic.
and I've got. I mean, I'm not rich by any means, but I've got and I have a very what you would call a frugal lifestyle, or very. I don't know what you not frugal is not the maybe that's not the right word for it. I don't spend a lot.
Simple.
Yeah, simple life. I live below my means, kind of thing. So, well, we
Well,
do, and
I
so we're
always
very careful with our funds.
I always advise people to live within their means,
Yes.
or lower.
Yeah. Oh no, we were doing that when I was, in my other main job, making decent money. We were still living below the means there, so it just prepared us for this.
By the
But
way,
we do fine. We're doing fine. We're not any
that's
hurting in any way.
fantastic. By the way, I want to invite, time permitting, I want to invite some of our guests to ask questions. But if that's okay with you,
Fine with me. Whatever you
but
want.
what I want to do is, I first want to ask mine, everybody. So I'm
Okay.
not going to pay a lot of attention to the text right now, but when the time comes, I'll let you know. You first heard of Strat-O-Matic.
hmm When did I first hear Strat-O-Matic?
When was it? What was it?
Okay. The first time I saw Strat-O-Matic was in a magazine ad. They had it was like the old logo is like this pitcher that's, it's like he's in his pitching motion, and
Yeah,
the ad was like, control the big leaguer. This was back in like the 70s when I first
right.
heard about it. But I didn't really think much about it. I just like, whatever. And but I never really got into Strat-O-Matic until the late 90s. That's when I first got introduced, and that was on the computer. Because back then, I really wasn't into the tabletop stuff. I was wanting something simple that I could just flop on the computer and do, because computers were new to me at that point, and so I was kind of enamored with the whole computer thing. And so Strat-O-Matic had the computer sets, and I could play that's exactly the ad. Yep, that you got it right there. That's the first thing I saw about Strat-O-Matic. That was my first memory
And when
of
was
Strat-O-Matic.
that? What
That was
year?
probably like 75, 76, something like that.
Interesting.
When I was like 10 years old, and we were collecting baseball cards, and then we'd get the baseball magazines, and then you'd see the little ad in the baseball magazine.
And when you saw the ad, you didn't mail away.
No, I didn't really, because I really wasn't. I mean, I saw it and it was interesting, but it wasn't my bag of tea or cup of tea at that point in time, because I was only like 10 or 11 years old, so I wasn't really thinking about tabletop and stuff. I was more thinking about playing real baseball or a computer.
Okay. Um, so you first heard of it though, and you say you started in the '90s, the early
On the
'90s.
computer, I started in the late 90s when the computer game first came out. It was very archaic. It's still archaic today, but it was really archaic back then.
Right.
And I remember buying the little season, and you had to have a disc that was they called it a key disc to be able to get into it. It was like their safety thing, so you couldn't share the files with. Now they've got a whole nother thing to prevent you from doing that, but back then they had what they called a key disc, because everything was on a 3.5 floppy, basically, back in those days.
Um, when Strat-O-Matic was on computerized,
hmm
you're telling me it was way back when you used floppies.
Yes, absolutely. My first Strat-O-Matic season was on a 3.5-inch floppy disk.
I didn't know that.
Yep. I think I might still have it in another room somewhere or another, but I probably threw it away. It's probably
I
so old
didn't
by
know
now, but
that. I mean, I
yep.
remember the floppies.
Yeah.
I go back to about 19. I think it might have been '88. I was with. I had a CompuServe. I'm sorry, a Tandy.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember Tandy Corporation.
Vaguely, yes.
It was part of Radio Shack,
hmm Well,
and
my first computer was a Commodore 64, so that goes how far I go.
yeah, that's pretty far back.
And the disk drive was bigger than my head. It's an
But
external
in the
disk drive.
'90s, you got into the PC.
Yep. hmm
Can
That
you
got my
give me?
feet. Say again.
Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
said that got my feet wet into what Strat-O-Matic was all about, and
Okay.
got me curious about it.
Now, give me an idea here
hmm
of the timeline from when you got on to Strat-O-Matic, computer only, not the
hmm
cards.
Right, computer only. Yes.
in relation to other games, did other games precede it?
Yes, absolutely. When I was a teenager, Status Pro was the game I bought because it was at the KB toy store in the mall. Back in those days, they would actually sell these games in the mall. Back in the in the dark ages, back in the early '80s.
Early
That was back.
80s.
That was back when I was in high school.
So you played Status Pro.
Status Pro, yes.
Did you
That was
play
the only
any
game
other
I played.
games?
Nope, just Status. That was the only one I saw in the. I mean, I think I bought Pay Dirt or one of those football games. Whatever they had in the mall, I got them, and
Right.
we'd have I think one time we did me and my buddy, we played a war game at one point, but that really didn't get into that. I was more baseball than I was into any other kind of
Right.
gaming.
So this is the it's the what this is in the 70s or early
80s,
80s.
early 80s, yep.
Early
In fact,
80s.
1984 was the first season I bought. When I bought this game, it came with the 1984 set.
And it's a card and dice.
Yeah, Status Pros. It's no dice. It's fast action cards.
Okay. And just a broad stroke, a big picture here. Other games that you played and when?
Oh gosh. Well, I guess after Status Pro, my next game was Strat-O-Matic, and that was in 2000.
The computer version.
No, DOS with cards and dice. I broke down and bought the cards, a game set and the cards in 2001 that had the 2000 season on it.
Right.
And then I did it again 2002 for the 2001 season because somehow I got the idea that 2001 was the year Barry Bonds broke the home run record.
Okay.
And I thought, boy, these strat cards are going to be valuable. I'll just keep them and hold on to them, and they'll be like, having stocks or something. But that didn't work out. So I never actually played the game. I just held the cards.
You got the 2000 set.
In 2001, I bought the 2000 set, and in 2002,
you were thinking it would be 2001.
No, I bought them both. I bought 2000 and 2001. Okay. So, but 2000, but I never really. I mean, I tinker with the game, but never really got into it. And I just kind of held it there. It was sat under my bed for years, and then finally in 2015, I actually was watching some YouTube videos and saw some guys playing Strat-O-Matic. I said, well, let me go out and try the Strat-O-Matic thing and see if I can, figure it out or whatever, or if I like it,
Right.
So I bought the 2014 set, and that got the ball rolling.
Now you wanted a more current set.
So in 2015, I bought the newest set, which was 2014.
And you could have played the older set.
I could have, but I was enamored. I mean, I was trying to follow the guys that I was watching on TV that year. So
sure. So basically, what you're telling me here, the timeline is it was Status Pro in about the mid 70s.
Oh, mid 80s actually, early 80s, or I'd say early
80s, and then.
And then I took a break for a while and didn't play anything for a while. Then in 2001, that's when I kicked it back in and bought the cards, but never played it. I just kind of got it. I was still in the video game craze at that point, playing games on the videos, the PlayStations and the Xboxes and that kind of thing. And then in 2015 is when once I saw a couple of YouTube videos, it got me thinking maybe I should try this.
So it was a good 15 years between.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I'm also trying. I don't want to get bogged down in detail, but the computer version was around
late 90s. It was late 90s, I think.
But that didn't stick for you. That didn't do
much. Not really. I mean, I played that one season, 1993. I think I bought that season, and that was the only season I really played. And like I said, then I kind of got away from that and went straight to. I had about a 10-year period where I was all into the PlayStation and the Xbox and all these video type games, war games and all kinds of stuff. And like I said, I finally got back into doing baseball in 2015.
2015.
That's when I bought the 14 set.
14 set, which, by the way, I find that to be, in retrospect, because I remember when I was young, they had the 14 set. I find it to be almost humorous that anyone would get that. I guess if you can't afford the whole set.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But to just get 4 teams is
no. I got the whole set. So
yeah, right. You got the whole set. Yeah. I'm saying, but they had the 4. So between 2015 and now, you've been playing Strat-O-Matic
and a lot of other games as well. But Strat-O-Matic is my favorite.
Into that. Yeah, and I know that we're getting bogged down in detail. I have more general questions, but I think it's helpful to know what you developed. What are some of the other games you've gotten into in the past almost 10 years?
Wow, it's a whole lot of them. There's a game called History Maker Baseball, which when I first saw it, it looked very cartoonish, and I looked at it, I almost laughed when I saw the video on it.
Right.
But then I tried it, and it's actually there's method to the there's a method behind the madness. And so even though the player cards don't have statistics on them, they've got qualities like, he's a hero or he's a whiffer or whatever. But those qualities are based on actual statistics. So it actually played a realistic game. I actually played a 1987 Atlanta Braves full season replay with History Maker Baseball, and the stats actually came out pretty good.
You played a full season with what team? The Braves?
1987 Braves, because I was watching them on TBS, and I got, I kind of followed, even though they were bad, I just followed them because they were on TV.
On TBS.
And it's a team it's players that I knew, and it brought back memories, so I played it. And the stats at the end of the season came out fairly well, so I was pretty impressed with that game.
History Maker.
Yep, History Maker Baseball. They also have fictional sets, which I tried. They were okay. That you could get creative with it and everything, but I really prefer real life people. So,
well, this reminds me of there's a Philip who comes on here, and
Philip Reynolds, is that who you're thinking
Philip
of?
Reynolds, yeah. And he was going to make me a manager of a team.
Oh, really?
Through the fantasy part of it.
Right.
And I thought it was interesting because when I was young, and this is not about me, but when I was very, very young, I created, in my mind, I created an imaginary baseball league.
Oh, wow.
And even to this day, I know many of the players' names, and I thought I could do that with History Maker. And
yeah, so, I actually did that with History Maker. They have teams that they have fictional sets that come out, and they're already pre-programmed into teams, or you can put them in your own teams, however you want to handle it.
Right.
And you can create your own city names, create your own nicknames, all that good stuff. In fact, I did a couple mini seasons with the Buffalo Bees, and I actually was, doing fake announcing and everything else on the videos. So hopefully kind of trying to make it, funny. But
now the time when I first got on YouTube was, I think it was roughly 2006 when I started using it to make not related to Strat-O-Matic.
Right.
I imagine when we're about 2015 forward, and you notice the YouTube people on YouTube playing Strat-O-Matic. So you started to broadcast.
I started in 2015. Yes, it was. My equipment was terrible. I had a terrible cell phone, and so the early videos, the picture quality was, I could never get above like 480p. It was just terrible.
Are some of those videos on your?
Yeah, that if you go down to the history, I'm sure they're down to if you go to the very oldest, they'll probably be there, but they're horrible.
Yeah. So we're working ourselves through initially Status Pro, then Strat-O-Matic. And we're talking only baseball.
Yes.
I mean, I guess we could include football, hockey, basketball. What else?
All right. After History Maker, I dabbled in that a little bit. Then I found a game called Payoff Pitch, which actually was pretty good. And so I delved into that a little bit. And I really liked the quality of the price was the price was very reasonable. The card quality, card stock of the cards was excellent, and the game engine was pretty good. One of the only downfalls to that game that I found for me was that the pitchers are not rated for lefty-righty splits. The batters are, but the pitchers are not.
Right.
And some of us queried the guy that created it, and he's like, "Well, there's no way we can really do it this way or whatever." So that was a turnoff to some people. Some people it's not. I mean, I still enjoy the game. It's not as high up for me as Strat, but it's still a good game. I'll pull it out once in a while just to play it. And
in fact, I believe I've seen you play.
Yeah, I did and I was trying to do a Yankees 2022 replay, but then the modern season with all the strikeouts got to me, and I can't do this modern season because there's too many strikeouts.
Well, there's never too many strikeouts for me.
Yeah, but in that game, the pitchers have what they call a tough quality. Whenever he hits a tough chance. It's a good chance for a strikeout. And I was just hitting the tough left and right, just tough, tough, tough. And every time you get to a tough, it's a strikeout. And guys were striking out 10, 11 times. A team would strike out 10, 11 times a game, and it just got to be, too
that's
much.
not unusual.
No, it's accurate for modern baseball, but
Right.
I like the older style baseball where they put the ball in play.
Yeah. So you go Status Pro, Strat-O-Matic, History Maker, Payoff Pitch.
And then I saw Steve Tower, who's one of the content creators on YouTube. He introduced a game called Replay Baseball.
Okay,
so I started to get into that.
You played a lot of games.
Oh, I definitely did. Yes.
And I think that gives think that gives you a good insight and
well, it helps me appreciate Strat-O-Matic all the more.
Well,
if Strat-O-Matic was the only thing I played, I would have nothing to compare it to. But now I've got all these other
Right.
games to compare it to. And despite all the downfalls that people have of Strat-O-Matic, it's still my favorite game.
So Strat-O-Matic is your favorite, and that's
Yes.
not you're not just saying that because I.
No, I mean I'm doing the 1987 every game American League playthrough in Strat-O-Matic because that's my game.
So Status Pro, Strat-O-Matic, History Maker, Payoff Pitch, Replay
and then,
Baseball.
Yep, and then Inside Pitch is probably my second favorite game. That's the one that I've done replays on as well. Because I really like the cards. They're nice and colorful. You get when you order the set, you get every player, so you don't have to worry about not having a player. They're all there.
Really?
Yep.
Every player, every player who ever played on the team.
Yes.
Now, and their cards.
Yes.
Wow.
Now, I mean, the very, very marginal people are PDFs you can download, but if they had like 10 at bats or more, they're actually got a physical card.
Really?
But if they're minor players, like they maybe pitch 2 games a year, you can go to their website and download them as a free PDF and cut them out. So and insert them when you need them.
For someone like me who might want to test the waters of another game, you would say go with Inside Pitch?
To me, it's the best game because you get the batter-pitcher interaction on every at-bat.
Right.
Like what I'm finding now, if you know who Wade Boggs is, I assume.
I was just watching earlier this morning. I was watching your Toronto
Boston.
Boston game, and but go ahead.
Yeah, but see, Wade Boggs only struck out like 40 times all year, but I got 2 rolls off the pitcher card, so he struck out twice. And I'm like, if this keeps happening, he's going to end up with like 100 strikeouts on the year.
Well, you're
but
right.
But see, on Inside Pitch, you go to a strikeout on the pitcher card, but then you can refer back to the batter card, and Wade Boggs would have such a low strikeout ratio, he's going to barely strike out. He would basically annul the strikeout and go to his own at bat.
Yeah, did he?
So to me, it's very realistic.
Game also?
Yes, he had 2 home runs.
Yeah, 2 homers.
2 solo home runs. Yep.
Now that
and there's no like 2 asteroids or anything in Inside Pitch. It's all based on where the ball is hit and the arm of the outfielder and the speed of the runner.
And there's
so you have
W power.
No, there's none of that stuff. Nope, it's already factored into their card. If they don't have any power, they're not going to have any home runs on their card.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have Status Pro, Strat-O-Matic, History Maker, Payoff Pitch, Replay Baseball,
and Inside Pitch.
Inside Pitch. Anything else?
Yes, I've experimented early in the year with 2 new games that I bought.
Okay.
I haven't played them much, but I might start playing them here shortly. And that is a Fall Classic.
Okay, I've heard of all of these on YouTube.
Fall Classic is the closest game I can come to that. It's sort of like a souped up version of APBA. APBA. It's like a souped up version of APBA.
Bring up APBA.
I have APBA. It's just not my favorite.
So APBA is the other?
Yeah, I mean, I got APBA early on too. I didn't mention it because it was totally out of mind because I don't really care for it. You got to look in the book for results, and I like the results on the card.
Right.
I don't want to have to refer to a book. That's the downplay of replay baseball as well, as you got to look in a book to get the results. Whereas Inside Pitch, Payoff Pitch, Strat-O-Matic, all those things are on the card.
Right.
So Fall Classic is, like I said, sort of like, it's kind of a souped up version of APBA, and then the other game I play is called Season Ticket. That's the newest one I got.
Oh yes.
And that's interesting. It's very in depth. So I haven't played it in a while. So if I go back to play it now, I'm going to relearn the game all over again. It's not a game I can just pick up and get going again.
Okay.
I would have to go back because there's a more basic version and a more advanced version. I mean, it looked interesting. I mean, there's a lot of factors that are included in that, and so I may get to that. We never know.
So that's 9 games.
Yep. that I can think of.
That you could think of in the last decade.
Yeah.
What does your wife? What does she think? I hope this isn't too personal, but what does
No,
she think?
she lets me. I mean, I don't get to. That's why I don't get to play a lot of these games all the time, because I have to kind of block out my hobby time. So I have to figure out which game do I want to play. So doing this project now for Strat-O-Matic, that's kind of taking up all my project time, because
Yeah.
I want to. If I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to come upstairs and have my little private time. Then I want to do something constructive, which is get my project done.
And she understands. You
Yeah.
probably
No,
didn't
that's
expect that we would be talking on this level, but she understands that you want your private time.
yes.
But
She encourages it, actually.
she encourages, and I imagine she has some of her private.
And she has her private time as well. Yes, absolutely. So you got to get you got to have a break once in a while.
Yeah. So that basically covers the gamut.
Yeah.
Excuse
Yep.
the pun.
And I mean, it's better than the alternative of me going out somewhere and hanging out with the boys or whatever. So, I mean,
Well,
she knows where I am. If I'm here, she knows exactly where I am. So
exactly. And you say she's fine with it. Do you have anything you could share with us in terms of more specifically what she thinks about the games, and does she know?
She's not a big baseball fan.
Right.
And I showed her a video of History Maker Baseball where the guy was explaining all about History Maker Baseball, and she kind of watched it and kind of just said, "Okay, whatever, do your thing."
Yeah. Now Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm saying she just, she doesn't really follow baseball, or I could show her Strat-O-Matic game and she wouldn't know, left from right on that, and wouldn't care too. So
right. Now, just to sort of wrap up just this portion, the PC games, of which there are many.
Yes.
And if your main goal is graphics, then they have that, and I assume it's very realistic.
Yes, there's a game called Action PC Baseball from DK Sports. I play that often.
Oh, you still play that?
Yep. Just to for a different feel.
Right.
When I want the eye candy, I go for the eye candy once in a blue moon. But if I want realism, then I go for the card and dice.
Even though I imagine some of these computer games are realistic.
Yeah, it's realistic, but it's a closed engine. I can't see what's going on behind the scenes, so I don't know when somebody does something. In Strat-O-Matic, I know if somebody does something weird, it's because I rolled that weird roll. But if
that's fascinating. That's fascinating that you use that description. Some things don't require us to know how it works.
Yeah. That's the difference between a closed engine game or an open engine game, and I prefer open engine games.
And you say open engine means you know how it's working.
Yeah, because it's based on cards and dice. It works hand in hand with cards and dice. They actually have computerized cards on the screen like Strat-O-Matic has, so you can see all the roll. You can roll your own dice. You can see the own rolls and everything. But in this one, Action PC, you just click the button that says hit, and when your time is at bat, and the computer goes through a thing and animates it and tells you what happens.
But if you go with a better hitter,
it's statistically based. I mean, it tells you like this guy has a such percentage chance of hitting a home run. He has such chance of striking out or whatever. And it's very good at you can manage. I enjoy the managing aspect of it. So when I play the computer, I don't have to manage against myself. I can manage against the computer, and I can focus on one team. And that's
I'm sorry that they don't have any of these games for an iMac.
Yeah, I don't know what they have for because I just have a regular PC, Windows PC. I don't have an iMac, so I don't know what they've got.
To sort of put a wrap on this history and development of gaming, there are other computer games you play also?
I've dabbled in Replay Baseball has a computer version, so I play that and use that to keep stats and whatnot. And there's another game called Out of the Park Baseball that I play a little bit, but I'm not that enamored with it.
Okay. And that's it.
For computer version, yeah. Now on the PlayStation, I still get, and I just bought it because it was on sale for $9 on Black Friday, was the MLB The Show game, so I can keep up with the modern players, and it gives me a little eye candy as well.
What is it called? MLB
The Show 24.
Oh,
is the newest one. It's
Oh,
on the PlayStation. It's normally $60 when they come out in April or March
yeah.
or whatever it is. But for Black Friday, it's $9.99. So I go back and I start playing the real 24 season from opening day. I know who the lineups are already, so I can go make my lineups, make my rosters, and just kind of it has a manage mode in it, so I don't have to do it's not by how I do the joystick. I'm still managing the game, and it
Right.
just plays out for me. In fact, it'd be wonderful if those two could combine and you can have a Strat-O-Matic game on the computer where you do the decisions on the computer for Strat-O-Matic, but it animates itself out to be like,
Oh,
MLB
yeah.
The Show with the graphics. That would be cool.
Right.
Never happened, but it would be cool. So,
And I recall Dave Little. I believe he said this in one of his
hmm
videos that they don't have the staff.
yeah, they don't have the man. They got one guy that does all the computer games apparently.
Right.
And honestly, most Stratomatic people, the graphics are not what they're hounding for.
Exactly.
They're hounding for net play, and they're hounding for being able to micromanage the team, to the and set up a computer manager to just like Dave Little said in his videos. He pretty much said the same thing. It's just they want to get in depth as far as you can in Stratomatic. That's what Stratomatic's for. If
Right.
you want graphics, you go play MLB The Show, or you do Out of the Park or something like that. But if you want nuts and bolts quality strategic gameplay, you go to Strat-O-Matic.
Yeah, I see. I'm not really paying too close attention to
I'm
the.
looking at it once in a while, but I'm not really paying a whole lot of attention to it.
But I see JC says something that I really. He says the graphics are in my head.
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
know what that means, but
well, that means when he's playing Stratomatic.
he's visualizing the graphics of MLB The Show on Strat-O-Matic, maybe, or
Yes. Now,
yeah,
I don't think I'm actually seeing it in my head in as
no,
much as I'm conceptualizing it.
yeah. I mean, I'm visualizing what's happening as it's going on,
Right.
which is why when I do the game broadcast, I try to put that in and visualize. Okay, he hits to right. What's going to happen now? Who's going to go where and whatever. But
Right.
and
Okay. I'd like to.
that's one of the reasons why I did the YouTube thing to begin with, because I had a long interview with a guy named the Replay Gamer, and
Yes.
he asked me the same thing. But the reason, two of the things I wanted to do when I was growing up was to be a baseball manager and a broadcaster, and I'm never going to be either one. But Stratomatic lets me delve into both of those areas.
That's right.
So
He asked you what question?
no, I just told him he would just interview me in general about Stratomatic,
Oh yeah,
about
yeah.
what we like and what we don't like.
Right.
And one of the things that came up, he says, because he was asking me how I got into YouTube to begin with. And I
Yeah.
told him, well, one of the reasons was because when I was growing up, I wanted to be a manager and I wanted to be an announcer. I'm never going to be either one, but this gives me the chance to at least delve into both and see what both would be like. Because
It's,
baseball, Stratomatic to me is like a sim, like Flight Simulator is a simulation to fly in an airplane. And so I
right.
was making that analogy.
Right.
So Stratomatic is giving me it's a sim that puts me in the manager's seat, and I have the same decisions to make a real manager would make based on who they have available and their trends and their past history and their statistics. Of course, I got the statistics ahead of time because I know what's going to happen after the season's over, where the manager does
Right.
not when it's going on. But you can still
Right.
make your decisions based on what you know.
I think they have something like it's called 365,
Yeah,
and
I don't deal with any of that, or Strat Max. I don't deal with any of that stuff.
yeah, I don't. But the
No.
365 is all
Yeah,
constantly.
they update the cards every day during the season.
Boy. Um. Okay, I'd like to shift gears.
Okay.
What is your least favorite aspect of Stratomatic?
The least favorite aspect.
Yes.
You talking about the game itself, the game company, or the mechanics of the game, or
Let's
both?
cover all three.
Okay. Well, the thing that frustrates me the most about Stratomatic is you don't get all the players. Even when you buy the extra players, you still don't get the extra players. You either got to have the app or you got to have the computer to be able to pull them up and get the extra, those marginal players that you don't
But
get when you need.
do you subscribe to the Card Viewer app?
No, I used to, but I don't now. No.
You don't
But I
find it.
have I have the season I'm doing. I have it on the computer, so I can go print those players off whenever I want.
Oh, okay. So you have it. You
I
have
have
like
I have everything. It's just it would be more convenient if I had them in regular
right,
Strat cards right in front of me,
right.
because the ones I print out don't look as good as the one on the Strat does.
Oh,
But
those printouts, and I'm not talking. They're not your printouts. They're
no,
what they give you,
yeah,
and those are hard to read.
yes they are.
And I'm not talking about how big it is. I'm talking about the symbols.
Yeah.
Hard
Yeah.
to read.
It's hard to tell what shows as a clutch or, whatever. So
But
sometimes they're very hard to read.
I want to just suggest to you that since you bring it up, I think that would be my least favorite part of Strat-O-Matic, and I have found, I think, the best solution I could, because some things are going to change, some things are not going to change. They're not going to make it
No.
available, not now at least.
No. And there's so many players in modern seasons. They go through 80 players a year on a roster, so there's no way they're going to print out 80 cards. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
You get the set. You
The
get
27 players per team. You get that, the base set.
Right. You get the extra players, which are $22. That's a small fee to pay. And I got the 2021 set, and I noticed that's about 9.6 extra players per team.
Yep.
And some of the teams have 40.
Yeah, because they use a lot of players.
But then, if you want, you can invest $60 a year, $5 and change a month for the Card Viewer app, which I don't print them out.
Yeah.
But I keep them out. So that's your least favorite.
Yep.
Is there any other aspect of the game that?
Well,
you don't
sometimes
like?
the 50-50 thing bothers me a little bit because, like I said, in the game that it's played, Wade Boggs struck out twice, and that's probably not. There's probably not many games he struck out twice in the same game. I mean, only had 40 strikeouts and 600 and some at bats. But that's I live with it. But it would be nice if there was some kind of way to involve both pitcher and batter in the same at bat.
And it's not a deal breaker.
No, it's not a deal breaker. It's just it'd be something that if I had to give a negative, I mean, I'm mostly positive, but I've had to give some negatives. Those are the two negatives that I can think of right off the top of my head.
Do you think?
And also, they don't offer enough. There's a lot of seasons they don't offer it, which is bad too. I mean, if I want to go get the 1975 season, it's not out there.
Now this is it's card and dice.
And your computer can get anything, but I'm talking about cards and dice.
Yeah. By the way, how do you suppose? Was it just computer generated that they created on the Card Viewer app? Mm-hmm. Essentially, every player who played in history.
Yep.
Do you think
so? They could print them in a set if they wanted to. They just don't want to.
But do you think that I'm wondering, how do they generate that many players? We're talking every player ever in history.
Yep.
I guess it's just they use the formula.
They have a set formula that Hal and whoever's research team has, I guess, and it's just they take the raw numbers and they have a formula to set it up. I mean, how do they decide whether somebody's a good column 3 or a good column 1? I mean, what's the difference?
Now, my guess would be that if I pick a card out from some guy from 1903 or something, I think there might even be 18th century.
Yep.
They're not as statistically accurate potentially as current day, because current day is dealing with the whole league.
Yeah, and you didn't have the they didn't keep the good records back then, so they do now. So and Dab makes a good point as well, is that the other thing that Strat-O-Matic could really use overhaul on is their rare plays, because their rare plays really aren't that rare.
They're not that rare, and they're all, I regret I'm using the advanced.
I really don't care for I always like the super advanced. I just think I think advanced gives me more errors, and I just like the way the super advanced does it. But like I said,
I'm saying, you don't get the rare plays that way.
Yeah. But like I said, play the game you want to play. So I mean, whatever modifications you want to make, you go for it.
I was gonna get into that mantra.
Yeah.
Which I think is maybe, we'll get into it, but maybe the best thing you've ever said publicly about.
Well, I mean, it's a hobby, so I mean, how do you do a hobby wrong?
Well, yes and no, but we'll get into that.
Yeah. Okay.
We get into that. Are there any other aspects of the game that are not high, that are low on the list, that you don't like too much?
Before we get any further, for Kathy Harden, you need me on this dice tower. You want me on this dice tower.
you're afraid to admit it.
Yes.
But
people had to be at the previous stream to figure, to get the inside joke
and
on
I don't know
so.
I don't know it verbatim, but perhaps your existence, baseball demos, is contemptible.
Yeah.
But I need you there.
Yes. There you go. With all the bad puns and everything, So, well, like you said, one of your other things, humor is one of the best medicines. So,
right.
try to keep a good, disposition. And
but is there anything else about the game that you think
that
is,
I don't like? You're talking about what I would
what
like to see improved, or I don't like?
Yeah.
About the game that I don't like. Let's see. Went through not having all the players. Went through the rare plays. Went through the 50-50.
Yeah.
The card quality could be a little better because sometimes, especially when you get a new set, they stick together. It's hard to separate them sometimes. I think
they improved last year's.
Yeah, they did a little bit, but I mean, it still could stand a fresh, coat or whatever. I don't know why they used the blue and the red like that. To me, I know they'll never do it, but I think it'd be cool to do the team colors. Like if you're the Orioles, have the left side be orange and the right side be black, or something like that.
Oh, that would be prohibitive cost.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it would. That's why I've said they never would do it. Also, you bought the game. You bought the whole game with your last order, right? It came with all the little playboard that came with it, the Wrigley Field playboard or whatever.
That's false.
Yeah. But they used to make other playboards besides Wrigley Field, and I would have liked to have got some of those, but
I have it right here.
Yeah, but see, I've seen other guys on YouTube play, and they've had Oriole Park, and they've had some other stadiums. I think Strat could all they have to do is say, okay, when you're going to get the game box or the game card set with a game, you get the Fenway Park version or you get the Yankee Stadium version. I think they'd be a better seller if they did that.
You know what I like is
Mike Terranova has a Yankee Stadium, so I think that might be created outside of Strat. I'm not sure. I think it's a homebrew or somebody else is creating that. But I'm talking about Strat itself putting stuff out. I've seen it with Shea Stadium. I've seen it with Orioles.
I think it's the only two.
Yeah, I've seen them before.
There is the original.
I mean, they had a yellow and green version with a one arm pitcher on there. I think back in the day.
Yes, and I had a baseball set. I've
still got that board back in the day.
I don't know
that's the one. That's the one. Yep, exactly.
And I like this one because it speaks to the fact that this is a conceptual, not a graphic. Game.
Yep, I think it's easier to track base runners and everything on that older board if you wanted to use the pegs or whatever. Yeah. I think it's easier to do that. So.
And I would like that one. Just to throw out on what you didn't like about the game, and a lot of the issues with the game and the game company overlap.
Yep.
And inform each other, but for situations like it was a good move that they did N and W power.
Oh, absolutely. But see, if you play basic, that doesn't apply. So that's why I don't play basic.
Right. But they could use that
for strikeouts, maybe or something.
Yeah, you might have a strikeout. It would take extra time, but it would be a strikeout, and then if you have an S rating or NS, NS, no strikeout.
Yeah. And you roll a D20. If the D20 is like 15 or higher, you don't strike out or something. They could
something
along those lines. But I think for most players Strat's already complicated enough. They probably don't want to go into too much complications. So.
And by the way, this just occurred to me of something to ask you. Is you demonstrate an uncanny mastery of Strat-O-Matic Super Advanced. Do you play all rules?
Most rules. I don't play the robbing the home runs, and I don't play the blocking the plate. But I try to play everything else. I try to do the clutch. I do the little triangle where it's split. If you've seen those before, they have a little triangle and it's a split result.
Well, wait a minute. You read the result below it.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
that
I'm trying
sure.
to see if I've got a card here that has that.
And you do,
Yeah,
you
right
do.
here. Right here. I don't know how well it's going to show up on
Yeah,
here, but
put it
anyway,
up
Spike
real
Owen.
nice.
Let me get the number here. Spike Owen, if you look at his 1-3 against righties, 1-3 against righties. I don't know how well
Oh
it's
yeah,
going to show
sure,
up.
sure.
It's got that little triangle there where in advance it'd be a single, but on triangle you drop down to the 2 rows below it, and a 1-2 is a single. Anything else is a line out to second.
Right.
That's the other thing too, is some of their out distributions are very, there's just way too many line outs, which is why on the ballpark failed single check, I don't always do a line out to short, line out to second. I'll keep the original result. I think you do a line out to third, line out to first, just to mix it up too.
Well,
But I'll
actually, I've incorporated several of your techniques or your practices. I've incorporated that. I'm not using it that often, but sometimes I'll arbitrarily make it something else, and I consider that to be an aesthetic quality.
Mhm.
I also incorporated rolling on bunts, rolling
for
first.
infield in or infield
Well, no,
corners in or
that's
not corners in.
well. I do 1, 2, and 3 infield in 4, 5, and
Okay,
6. That I added that myself, but I also do the let's see where it's hit,
right.
and then do
Then
the
roll for
two
the bunt
roll.
success itself. Yeah.
Right.
But I had you using the havoc roll for a few times, and then finally you just said, "Forget about it. I'm not going to do that anymore." It was too much
Yeah,
trouble. So,
and
but I enjoy it. It's part of my normal flow, so it doesn't bother me. But
yeah, and one thing on one hand you can say play the game you want to play the way you want to play it.
hmm
On the other hand, we can put any feelings aside, and
hmm
and you can evaluate based on your opinion and your knowledge about
hmm
Strat-O-Matic. You can evaluate what is and is not a good way of playing it.
well, if it would just be my opinion, and everybody has their own opinion, and everybody has their own style. So I just say
Right,
play it
but
whatever is the most enjoyable to you. That's the way to play it.
yes, and I agree with that. But on the other hand, I'm suggesting it may be your opinion, but the opinion is based on logic and reason, I would
Well, I would
assume.
hope so. I would hope so.
And therefore, we could take into account the opinions of others.
hmm
And,
I mean, I've learned some things from watching other people do, and I've incorporated some things as well. So, like Tim Clee, baseball fan, I picked up his little idiosyncrasy when there's a ground ball X to first. When I record the out, I always record it as a 3-1 put out
I've adopted
because
that
there's
too.
an X chance. I figure the first baseman had to range way outside and can't get to the bag in time, so he's got to flip it to the pitcher covering.
Right.
So, and I also do that with ground ball C's because he did that as well. On first base ground ball C's, I do the
Oh,
same thing.
oh, really? With the
Yeah,
picture covering on C's.
yeah, but not A's. If it's ground ball A, ground ball B, I don't worry about that. But ground ball C or ground ball X to first, I incorporate that. And
And
that's nothing in the rule book about it. It's just he did it and I enjoyed it, so I took it up.
and again, it's just an aesthetic
Yeah, it's
preference.
just an aesthetic thing, so you don't get so many 3G or 3 unassisted. You get a little
Right.
variety in there. Most people
Now,
don't keep fielding stats anyway, so it's really almost irrelevant.
do you have any memories that are nostalgic about Strat-O-Matic?
Nostalgic? Not really. I mean, I remember when I first got really started to play it in 15. I guess that's the closest.
Right, because if one was to ask me about and I'm not going to go into it, but the nostalgia, I'm convinced that I picked up Strat-O-Matic again with the pandemic.
Yeah.
I had played it early 70s up to about 74.
hmm
These were my tween and early teen years.
Yeah.
They were the greatest time in my life.
See, if I'd have played it back then, I probably would have nostalgia to it, but I
Right.
didn't start playing the cards and dice until I was, very old. So
Right. Well, yeah. What is the strangest, most unusual and or oddest thing you have ever experienced, including what you may have thought or done in relation to Strat-O-Matic?
You talk about during a gameplay or
Anything. It could be during a
anything?
game, before a game.
Hmm.
This is not like me asking an Uber driver what's the strangest thing that ever
Yeah.
happened. You don't have any.
I mean, there's a couple of outliers where I've had consecutive wild pitches happen before. That doesn't normally happen
Right.
that much in real world. You get one, but
Right.
I haven't had a no hitter yet, and haven't had a cycle yet. So I'm still waiting on both of those. I did have a no hitter in History Maker Baseball. Ferguson Jenkins threw a no hitter for me in History Maker Baseball, but that's been my only no hitter. I've come
Oh,
close on Strat-O-Matic, but not
yeah.
quite. And
You.
I've never had a cycle. So
What year was that for Jenkins?
the year I played was 1967.
Oh, 60.
And it was a live stream on video. I've got it live streams.
Oh, and
It
it's
was
a
one,
no hitter.
yeah, Juan Marshall and Ferguson Jenkins, 1967, History
Whoa.
Maker Baseball. It's
Yeah,
out there in the playlist somewhere. I don't know where, but
and that was sort of early in his career. Maybe that was his
yeah,
second or third year.
yeah, and the video quality is not the best, but it's man, you can watch it. It's just not like it is now. I had the crappy equipment way back.
I have a couple quick questions that are not exactly related to Strat-O-Matic.
Okay, whatever.
Boxers or briefs?
Boxers are brief. Well, actually, when I was growing up, it was always briefs, but then when I got married, my wife made me change to boxers.
And same with me.
Yeah.
Minus the wife.
Oh well.
Beatles or Rolling Stones?
Boy, that's a tough one because earlier on, I mean, back in the years ago, I would have said Rolling Stones, but since I started watching your channel, I started getting more into the Beatles, and especially John Lennon. And
But well, why my channel?
because you talked about the Beatles all the time, you were a
Oh, I
big Beatle
talk about
historian.
them.
Yeah, because you were a
And
big
the
Beatle
funny thing
historian
is,
back, and half of Kathy Harden's trivia questions were about the Beatles. It seemed like so.
okay. The funny
So
thing is, I guess the Beatles are so much of my core
yeah,
that I don't. I'm
and
not even
now
aware
actually,
that I'm always speaking about
yeah,
it.
and I actually made a playlist of John Lennon songs on YouTube now in my little playlist area. And there's
Oh,
one because I just searched under John Lennon, top single songs, not with the Beatles, but when he was on his own.
oh, sure.
And there's one song I never heard of before until I heard it. I said, "Oh, I know what that song is," but the title was like "Dream Number 9." I never heard of Dream
Yes. Oh,
Number
it's a
9.
beautiful song.
It's a beautiful song, but I just didn't know the title. I didn't know it was called Dream Number 9.
Dream. It's
But it talked
so
about
long
yeah, but
ago.
the chorus is like these words, these French words that I never heard of before about where it's kind of like
Poussez,
gibberish, but
poussez.
yeah, it's supposed to be a French term, I think. I don't know, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'm looking at your playlists. You have a lot of playlists.
Well, this one's private for me because it's my own
Oh, it's
personal.
private.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just my personal stuff to listen to in the car.
Yeah. Any other songs on? We can
Yeah, I've got
briefly.
the 9 songs on for John Lennon.
Any others that you'd want to mention that you put on the playlist?
Oh yeah, I put. Let's see, I'm trying to think off the top of my head which ones were the ones I put on there. Watching the Wheels is one I like a lot.
Right, right.
There's one called I knew the song from the words, but I didn't know the song from the title, and it was something about instant karma.
Is going to get you. You better get
Yeah,
yourself together, darling.
but the words in the song are what I thought it was called. I didn't think it was called instant karma. I thought it was called something else,
Right,
based on the
right.
lyrics,
That's
but
an
it was called
amazing song.
yeah.
That's an amazing song. What do you think that song's about?
I have no idea. I just know
Well,
instant karma is going to get you.
instant karma is going to get you.
Yeah.
It's going to knock you off your feet.
Mm.
You better get yourself together, darling.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone you meet. Join the human race. It's about love.
Mm.
It's
Okay.
about realizing that life is about love. That's my interpretation.
And there's another one. Oh shoot, what's the name of that?
Better get yourself together, darling.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can get.
The
I'm
moon,
gonna
the
look on my
stars, and the
computer here.
sun.
Yep. I'm
We're going to
trying to
go
look
back to
now as to what
Strat-O-Matic
the.
very soon. What's that?
I'm trying to look at my. Here we go. Playlist. Let me pull up playlist here. Here we go. Now I can read them off to you. As soon as this thing pops up on my laptop here. Okay, here we go. Hold on. Get over here. Nobody told me there'd be days like these is another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all shine on. That's what I thought the name of the song was called "We All Shine On," but it's actually called "Instant Karma."
And it could have been.
Yeah, because that's the line I remember the most is "We All Shine On."
Sure.
Whatever gets you through the night is another one I
Great song.
downloaded.
Do you know who plays piano on that?
I have no idea.
Elton John.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
He
And
came
a
across
woman is another one I have on there when he sung about Yoko, I guess.
great song.
Yeah. And another one called "Mind Games."
Of course.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm not a big fan of Imagine. It's just too slow for me.
it's interesting, you know. I collect criticisms, especially of the Beatles,
Hmm.
because you know, to me, a criticism is so unusual. Because based on my perspective,
Right.
instead of disagreeing with it, I say to myself, well, embrace it, accept it, listen to
Yeah.
it. And I had a friend, he was a black guy, and he said to me, the Beatles had no soul.
I don't understand that comment. But
Well, they don't have any soul. Their music
well,
did not have the the uh, the
the later
aspect.
Beatles, they had the black guy was a piano player on some of those things, but in some of their
True,
70s stuff.
true. Billy
But
Preston.
yeah.
Um,
But the thinking about the Rolling Stones too, I saw this little meme on Facebook that was kind of funny. It says something about uh, comparing Keith Richards to Richard Simmons, and they were saying that since Keith Richards is like what 90 something years old or whether, and he outlived Richard Simmons, maybe they're rethinking this healthy lifestyle thing.
well, I don't think he's quite 90.
Oh, he's up there.
He's in
He's
his
in his 80s.
80s.
Yes,
He's in
I'm
his
sure.
80s.
I'm sure all of them are. So
He's going to outlive us all.
yeah, but
Or actually, he's dead. He's a zombie.
yeah, I mean, the way they think those rock stars treat their body, you wouldn't think they would hang around, that
No,
long.
no.
But actually, I mean, I don't know about him, but I mean, Mick Jagger looks like in decent shape for his age.
And he had a heart attack.
Oh, he did.
He had a heart attack, and then he was back.
Richards
With,
will be 81. Tim says so.
okay,
He's 80 right now.
he had
He
a heart
maybe he
attack.
looks 90.
He looks like a zombie.
Yeah, yeah.
He looks like walking death, but
Yeah.
unbelievable. And you look at, you know, I don't want to get
Yeah, I was saying we need to get back to Strat-O-Matic. Probably.
get back to Strat-O-Matic.
I don't want to get too far off the beaten path.
Yeah. What have I not asked you that may reward us with yet more understanding of you and Strat-O-Matic?
Wow. What have you not asked me about Strat-O-Matic? That
Yes, yes, about Strat-O-Matic and maybe gaming in general.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't really know if I have a good answer. Unfortunately,
Well,
there's not much else to know, really.
so we covered all the bases.
I mean, I would say the primary things. Yeah.
Excuse the
Excuse the
metaphor.
pun for the bases. Yeah.
Yeah. You think we covered?
I mean, I do like. I mean, there's some people on YouTube, a lot of people on YouTube that like to do what they call one-offs, where they just play one game randomly
Yeah,
here and there. And I've never been a one-off guy. I've always been a project guy. So whether it's a small project or a large project, I've always been a project guy.
I
And I
agree. That's
and I
the
try to pride
difference.
myself on finishing projects. I don't finish all of them, but I finish a lot of them. So
You
so
know,
this American League ones might take me a year and a half, but I'll finish it.
well, yeah, it's only 162 games.
Well, I
It's
mean,
the whole American
the
League,
whole American League. So you're talking thousand,
and you're
over a
doing
thousand games.
card and dice.
Yes,
Okay, that's
but
160.
but with my limited hobby time, I mean that cuts down on when I can, how many games I can play a day and whatnot. So
That's 162 times 12.
Well, divided by 2 because there's 12 teams, but there's 6 games apiece. So basically 162 times 6, I guess, would be the proper way
Oh,
to do it.
right. That's about over 900 games.
Yeah, it's 900. If you count the playoffs, you're talking probably close to 1,000.
And you.
Right now, I'm on April 16th, so it's early on. Each team has played about 9 games so far. So.
Well, that's something that I did a one-off the other day for the first time, because sometimes I'll do a project as a World Series.
Well, I know your Yankee thing was a one-off, the little exhibition.
Right, exactly. So. But also, sometimes I'll do a World Series. I did 1911, and the Giants won it all. Mm-hmm. I believe, if I'm right. And then the 1964, the Yankees beat the Cardinals.
Right.
So, if you could jog your mind a little bit, I don't mean to press you, but that was a good one. That was a good one, that you're not into one-offs. You like projects.
Right.
What else? Before I go to...
Well, let me go back and answer Tim's question that he put on here about a season that I haven't played yet that I want to.
Okay.
And I may get to it eventually. And I actually tried to start it years ago, and I got through maybe 5 games, and then I just lost track of it. Is the Moneyball 2002 Oakland A's season with Strat-O-Matic, which I have the 2002 set. So the Moneyball A's 2002 would be a season replay.
What is Moneyball?
That's where they use sabermetrics, and they pay. Oh. There was a movie made on it called Moneyball, okay. But Oakland had lost 3 high-priced free agents, and they had to replace them with. They were a low-budget team, so they were looking at sabermetrics, on-base percentage, and all these things to figure out who they could get to fill the gaps. And they actually won 102 games that year. They didn't win they lost in the playoffs, but
right, they were a good team.
They were a good team, and so I thought, well, maybe playing that in Strat-O-Matic, see how they do in Strat-O-Matic. Does Strat-O-Matic pan out to be did they overperform, or did they do what they were supposed to do? So that's probably the one season I'd want to play that I haven't. Every other season that I wanted to play, I've played.
Okay, well,
either in Strat-O-Matic or some other game, doesn't. So.
Sure. I have a couple of closing remarks and questions, okay. but I really appreciate your time here.
Sure, absolutely.
But I thought maybe now would be a great time, folks. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, and we'll go one at a time here. First one who asks will get the question. Let me open up my text here. Here we go. How quickly? This is from Kenyon.
Okay, I see it.
Let me just read it out loud.
Okay, go ahead.
Because some people, they come on and
right, they don't see the chat. Yep.
Yeah. How quickly, when David started Strat, did he start playing Super Advanced? Great question.
That took a couple of years because I was very comfortable with Advanced, and then I saw a couple guys play Super Advanced, and I tried it, still wasn't 100% sure. They actually did a tutorial for me. A tutorial video that they let me watch, and so I said, okay, maybe it doesn't seem too daunting, and I just finally sat down one day and said, I'm going to try it, and once I tried it, I kind of never looked back.
And that would beg the question, how soon did you play Advanced from Basic, or did you immediately go into...
Oh, I went into Advanced. I didn't even mess with Basic. I saw Basic, like, I got to have more than that, so I started with Advanced.
Kenyon, great question. Here's from Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Who is your Major League Baseball team you root for?
Well, that's changed from 1970 to now. Back in the early 70s, I was an Oakland A's fan because I liked the mustaches, the long hair, and the colorful uniforms. So I was a big Hot Dog Jackson fan back in the 70s.
And you were young then?
And I was like 8, 9 years old, 7, 8, 9 years old. Big Reggie Jackson, big Raleigh Fingers, big Catfish Hunter, all those guys.
Right.
And then when they sold all their players, I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do now? Then I turned over to a San Diego Padres fan because I was a big Tony Gwynn fan back in the early 80s. Right. So I followed them for a while. Then when they went bad, then I went to the Oakland A's again because they had Jose Canseco, Mark McGwire, and all the power guys. And I was a big Tony La Russa fan, the manager, fan of him. Right. And so I followed them. But then when he left Oakland and went to St. Louis, then I became a St. Louis fan because my allegiance kind of followed over to him.
Sure.
And then when he retired, I kind of was without a team for a while. But then finally, when Washington got the team from Montreal, since it's local to me or closest to me, I became a Washington Nationals fan because I'm like, an hour and a half drive away from being able to see them play.
Right. And are you a Nationals fan now?
I don't really follow modern baseball as much as I used to, but if I had to pick a team that I'd want to see do well, it'd be Nationals. Yeah.
But you do seem to follow current day as you.
Not as much as I used to. I mean, I know the
Okay.
players, but I don't know. I mean, I don't like the way the rules. I don't like the ghost runner. I don't like some of the rules they have and whatnot.
Right, but you know most of
yeah,
I mean, I can tell
and
by.
the DH in the National League killed it for me too. I really
Sure.
disdained the DH. So.
Well, they say baseball used to be sacred. The rules really didn't change. Like football, it's changing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
The
NFL kickoff rule is ridiculous now. If you ever seen that.
And are you near Tidewater?
No, I'm in Richmond.
Are you near Tidewater?
About an hour away, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because I don't know if that's still the Mets.
No, the Mets farm. They're now the Orioles farm team. Norfolk is now the Orioles farm team.
Yeah,
Mets farm team is up in Buffalo, I think.
Another question from Kenyon.
Okay.
David, have you ever thought about playing a season where you make the lineups and rotations instead of as played? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, he's just saying instead of doing a set replay where I print out the lineups that are already there, he's asking me have I ever decided to do like a what if season where I just put whoever I want in the lineup. I mean, I did that kind of sort of when I did my demolition league. It wasn't a real season. It was just a truncated season of 54 games for 10 different teams to play against each other. And that was fun, creating my own lineups. In fact, it kind of took me aback when I first started. Like, how do I decide who hits leadoff? How do I, because I would just defaulted to the other guys. So I had to really look at the cards and look at their on base percentages and figure out, okay, this guy hit leadoff in real world, but really should he have? Maybe I need to do something else.
But are you saying that your preference is to use historical lineups?
Yeah, because I want to see how close the game comes to real world.
Right.
With statistics and whatnot, but I want to have the same decisions to make that the real manager had. I mean, if somebody's on the injured reserve, I don't want to be able to use him in a game when he wasn't available in real world because I got the advantage over the manager. If the manager's strapped for players, I want to be strapped for players, so I have to make those tough decisions.
And I largely do the same.
Like when you were in this morning, you were looking for a pinch hitter for the Phillies, and everybody was left-handed. It's like, what am I going to do?
Unbelievable.
Until I told you to take Verlaine, then it worked out. But
he didn't walk off single people.
Yes, he did. So
Bart Lowe
or
Bart Lau. How do you keep your stats? Now
that's we could spend a myriad on that.
Yeah, we could have actually we could have tutorials.
Yes, exactly. But I'm lazy. I use the computer to keep my stats.
Now, what that means is
I use the computer game, the Strat computer game, to keep my stats.
And how do you do that? You input.
Yeah, there's a manual entry on the computer game, so I can recreate the game off my score sheet and just type it into the computer, and it spits out it keeps all the stats, spits out a box score at the end, and so forth.
And that's not time consuming?
It is time consuming, but I usually do it as I'm playing it. So it's like when I did my Boston Toronto video, I was pausing in between each play because I had to go type it in the computer. But it's better to do it as I'm playing it than go back after the game is over and try to do it again.
So in other words, a batter is up and he pops to short.
Yep. I'll play it I'll roll the dice, play it out on the thing, write it on my score sheet, then I'll go to the computer, type in P6 or pop up in shortstop, and it's there.
Could you just put 6?
Well, the menu is a drop-down menu. So the first thing you got to do is put a P there for pop-up. Then you scroll down, and it gives you a fielder. And you click on the fielder. It's a drop-down menu, catcher through outfielder.
And it's another step, but it's rather quick.
Yes, it's rather quick. Yes, once you get the hang of it, it's rather quick. I mean,
And therefore, you have running statistics. I've noticed that
yes,
Spokane Steve does the same, but I think
yeah.
I don't think he enters it in real time.
I'm not sure when he does this, but
Yeah.
if you go back and watch the Boston game I just did, when they first come up to bat, I say, okay, he's hitting 273 with 4 homers and 13 runs
Oh,
batted in.
yeah.
That's based on what I'm looking at real world from my replay. So
Right, including maybe prior at bats he had in the game.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, actually, once I get through the first at bats for all the players and I get their averages, I don't go back to it again on the stream because it's bogging down too much. I do enter it, but I don't update this. I
Well,
don't say what their new averages are or anything because that just
I mean, it might be a nice, like once an inning, once a half an inning to mention one of the batters, or
possibly. I just don't think about it. I do it in the very beginning because nobody,
yeah,
that gives people an idea of how they're doing, whether they're struggling on the replay or whether they're doing well. Again, nine games is not a good sample size, so you got to take it with a grain of salt if somebody's
of
hot or not
course,
hot. I mean,
right,
Roger Clemens right now is 0-2 with an ERA over 7. So in his
right,
2 starts, but he's gone against Jimmy Key both times, and Jimmy Key's like the best pitcher in the league right now. So
right,
for Toronto, so he's had to face the wrong guy, and he's not getting any run support from his team either. So
right.
because Boston, they're 0-9 in the replay, so I mean, I'm
I
hoping they
didn't
get
get
a
a
win
chance to
eventually.
finish. I didn't get a chance to finish that. Do we have any more questions for this fine gentleman? These were great questions. Uh, could David explain pickoffs? Oh, this is a great question from Kenyon
Okay,
again.
okay,
Can he explain pickoffs in super advanced? I always get confused on how to do them.
all right. Well, I do them. Well, first of all, that's what the havoc roll is all about. With the runner on base, only with the runner on base, not with anybody. When the bases are empty, you don't do this. With the runner on base, I roll the havoc roll. If the roll is a 1, if it comes up as a 1, then it's a possible wild pitch. And then what you do is you check the wild pitch rating on the pitcher, re-roll the D20, and if it falls into that number or less, it's a wild pitch. If it's above that, then you just move on. Same with balks and pass balls. If the D20 is a 2, then you check for balks and pass balls.
Yeah. Does that?
But only when people are on base. It's only when people are
Only
on
when they're
base.
on base.
Yes.
Kenyon, does that help?
Now it's a totally different concept if you're trying to get the lead. I also roll a D20 when I try to get the lead.
Right.
Because if you roll a 1, then I could be a pick off the guy trying to get the lead. Yeah, I think that's what Ben is asking there too. When you try to get the lead, you just roll the 2d6s and that's it. But I roll the d20 as well because if you roll a 1, it's a possible pickoff. If you roll a 2, it's a possible balk on the pitcher, and so that's the extra step in super
It's
advanced.
not. Is it? And it's not a pass ball, possibly.
Not on that roll. No, it's only referring to the one because you're jockeying between the pitcher and the runner. The catcher's not even involved.
So that on any lead attempt.
Yep, I roll a d20 with the 2d6s.
Wow.
And if it's a 1, it's a possible pickoff. If it's a 2, it's a possible balk on the pitcher.
Now, is that in super advanced rules?
Yes, it's in the rule book. Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yep. It's in the rules. In fact, if you give me a second, I will try to get my rule book out and see if I can find it for you. Give you a page number and whatnot. Let's see here.
Give everybody a chance to get their instructions.
Yeah, it's on page. Where's the page number? 10 and 11. Bottom of page 10, top of page 11. They kind of go together. 24, rule 24 and 24.1. On bottom of page 10 on the right hand side and the top of page 11.
Now they say this is optional.
Yes, it's optional, but I like to use it.
So that's fascinating. This is an optional rule for pickoffs and balks.
Yep.
Whereas if you're playing super advanced, it's not called optional. The other way.
Right.
This is.
But basically, it's if you roll a 3 through 20 on the D20, you just ignore it and move on. But if you roll that 1 or a 2, that's when you do the other things in the A, B, and C category on page 11.
You know, that might be
B and C actually. B is the wild pitch and C is the balk.
what's that?
On page 11,
Oh,
category B is the wild pitch and category C is the balk.
you know, that
Explains
might be worth me using this rule.
because I notice when you play, sometimes you say, well, he gets the lead on a 2, but we might as well try. It doesn't hurt. Well, if you try to get the lead and roll a 1, he can get picked off. So that there is some risk involved. If you don't use that, there's no risk involved in trying to establish a lead. Here,
exactly.
you input some risk.
I
I mean, it's
think
minimal.
that would
It's a
be
5% risk, but you're still taking that risk.
and that's a pretty high risk, more than I believe getting a 2.
Yeah,
I don't know what the calculation is,
I don't know.
but that might be good. I'm going to really put serious thought to incorporating that. Do
But
you
of
have
course,
any?
I have a conspiracy theory that the D20 comes up as a 1 more often than any other number, but that's just maybe because 1 is what stands out. But it just seems like 1 comes up way more than 5%, at least for me. I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah. Now, I think you say that
It's kind of tongue in cheek, but
it's in jest. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Although I did notice when you bought the new Strat set, you were using the Strat dice that came with that game, and now
yeah.
you've gone from the blue D20 back to the devil die.
I didn't
I did
realize
notice
that
that.
the devil die is the devil die because it's red.
It's red, yes. Yep.
I did go back.
Yep.
I did go back. Any more questions from anybody else?
But that was a good question, Kenyon.
We've been
So,
on for an hour and a quarter here.
oh, it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah. I hope this was time well spent for everybody.
Well, I hope more people take you up on your offer to chat. So
Yes, and in fact, this is a standing, and I really appreciate you making the time. This is a standing invitation. Anybody who wants to do this, all you have to do is use your mobile device.
yep.
And I'll send you by email or I'll post it in the description.
Yeah, the link by email is the easiest thing in the world.
Right.
And I'm not tech savvy, and I figured it out. So.
Well, I think you're pretty tech savvy, and I think that you have. By the way, something I had mentioned that I wanted to bring up was more of a statement than a question. That you have nice aesthetics. You know, you print out the roster, or at least those players who
Well,
are
I print out the
available.
bench and the bullpen, so I know at a glance who's available to me.
Even though that one could easily do that by just putting the cards out.
Yeah, but I still like to have the team colors and the logo. It just kind of adds to my immersion. So.
And do you do that when you're playing by yourself?
Oh no, that's strictly for YouTube purposes.
Another question which just comes to me,
because when I'm playing by myself, I have the computer up and it tells me that already. So.
And if you got to go, you let me know. But
I'm good.
I'm not going to keep you much longer. But what percentage of games do you broadcast versus play solitaire?
Oh, I don't know if I have a set percentage. I mean, in this replay that I'm doing, I do 1 game a day on a calendar day on video. The other 6 games or how many there are, I play offline.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So maybe right now it's like a 5-to-1 ratio offline versus online.
And I want to just share something. I don't know what this is not meant to sound like putting down solitaire, playing offline.
Right.
Is a better word.
Yep.
But I play every game online.
Yeah.
And I just cannot see myself doing otherwise. And what that tells me is I enjoy doing it online.
Mm-hmm. And I do too. I mean, I enjoy it. But I mean, I've just recently started doing the live stuff. Before I was always pre-recorded and doing premieres and all that stuff. So I've at least upgraded to live streams now.
Right. Now, as far as your broadcasts go, I have a little problem, and that is I'm not getting alerted sufficiently. Now, you have great engagement. You have 20, 30 people coming to your broadcast at a time. And the only reason why I have this kind of engagement right now, we're at 19 right now, is because I think because of you. Okay. And I think people are very interested in this topic. But I want to know, first of all, do you have a regular schedule of games, of when you're going to broadcast games?
No, I kind of have to pick and choose my times when I have a free time available. So I can't say every Wednesday at 8 I'm going to do it. I don't have a set time. It's just life gets in the way. So
Sure.
you'd fit when you can, and
But
usually
what's remarkable is if you schedule it and do it.
Yeah.
Now
I put it
sometimes
out there in about five. I set it up and I go live and I give it about a 5 minute window to get everything else set up before I hit the live button. But it gives people a few minutes to get alerted and if they want to join, they can join. So
right. By the way, Ben says darn real life.
yeah.
That's maybe another reason why I don't want to finish.
But this is a good escape from real life. So.
Yeah, I don't want to really, but I have to go back to real life.
Yeah.
But you don't schedule. You very rarely schedule them ahead of time.
Yeah, very rarely.
And I don't know why I'm not getting alerted.
I don't know if you got the little bell on your subscription. It should tell you, because even on my thing, it pops up on my phone or whatever that says that this thing is live,
yes,
or whatever.
Yours, yeah.
But I don't know why. And I've had other people tell me this. I had Brian B. He's told me several times that he never got notifications, but everybody else says they do. So I don't know.
Right.
Why?
And this is the. I don't know if you can see this. It says subscribed.
Yeah. And there's a little bell there too. Did you click the bell, or is there a bell on there? It may not be a bell on that part. I don't know. Probably not. Personalized. You got all. So you got. I don't know what personalized means, but you got it on all, so you should get everything. But if you click the live instead of on that menu there, if you click where it says live, that's the most recent ones I've done, because that's the ones that were live. So there's a Toronto Boston one I did, and the Milwaukee Oakland right next to it that I did. And that's the game the guy actually pitched a no-hitter in real world in that Baltimore Milwaukee game. And I got all the way up to like the 6th inning before I gave up a hit. So I thought I might get a no-hitter, but I didn't. So
right.
And I got a big old icon of hot dog sitting there. Hot Dog Jackson.
Sure. Right there.
That was when I was doing my 1973 World Series. So
right. Okay. Well, I don't know. It would be easier. Sometimes and it's not a criticism, but Julio gets them from me.
mm-hmm.
I do a mix of scheduling my games in advance. And you don't schedule them in advance, so
no, because I'm afraid if I schedule something in advance, I'm going to end up not being able to get there, and I'll have to put out another thing saying I got to postpone it till this time or whatever.
And you can postpone it without starting it. You can use the same broadcast, and you'd be surprised how forgiving people are in our Strat-O-Matic community.
I'll tell you one thing. Some people are mentioning Spokane Steve. One thing about him that I'm jealous of is he has excellent penmanship. I wish I had penmanship like Spokane Steve has, because he writes very, very well. His score sheets are so easy to see.
I originally had a question. What is your weakness, if any, in relation to Strat-O-Matic?
You talking about playing or streaming or the whole 9 yards? Anything.
You see,
weakness.
You create the illusion of choice by saying, is it about this or is it about that? And it's all of the above. But maybe if penmanship is your.
That's one of my weaknesses. Absolutely, penmanship is not very good.
But you have many strengths.
And but hopefully the strengths outdo the weaknesses. That's what you got to hope for.
Yeah, and I think just me, trying to think clearly here.
I mean, I think.
Go ahead.
I mean, there's some people in there that get really excited and not yell, but they really get. I don't know what the right word is for it, but
enthusiastic.
Maybe over enthusiastic. I don't know, but
when
there's some guys on. Yeah, I mean, it's a ground ball to second. They act like it's the last out of the World Series. I might get excited if a guy hits a home run or something like that, but to me, I just.
Point.
I feel like I'm more of a narrator than an announcer anyway. I'm just kind of saying, here it is, here's
Right.
what happened, And when I do and I don't know why, but I just picked up this habit from the get go, I guess. But I mean, hopefully people can see the cards as I'm playing it, but I always say 3-8. So I point 3-8. You can see the dice says 3-8, but I say 3-8 anyway and point to the dice or with my pen or whatever. And
Well,
it seems to me people can see that anyway. So I don't know why I do it, but I
well,
just
I
do it
think you
anyway.
know what. There could be
Maybe I do it so I make sure I don't misread the dice.
that could be a reason, but I think
Yeah.
one thing that is a good idea when narrating or announcing
Hmm.
is to incorporate the jargon of Strat-O-Matic within it.
Mm.
So not only do you say it's a single and
2
so and
asteroids or whatever.
well, you would say two asteroids, two
Yeah.
asterisks, whatever,
Yeah.
uh, and so otherwise, instead of just saying it's based on man on first base hit single, he rounds second, goes to third.
Hmm.
You're adding that element that can remind people that it's Strat-O-Matic, and that should be
Yeah.
embraced, not hidden.
Hmm.
That's what I think.
Yeah. Now, Ben did mention something about a camera, but right now I just use my phone. That's all I have. I don't have a big, expensive, digital camera or 4K
Joe
camera or
Horland.
whatever.
Joe Horland says your announcing reminds him of Mel Allen.
I don't see that one, but
And you know what? I went and I listened to a little Mel Allen after Joel said that, and he's right.
I don't
Maybe
know.
not the timbre of your voice, but maybe a little, but also the style.
Hmm.
Any other questions?
Maybe one of these days I'll get an actual camera to use for uh, stuff. But right now my phone is what I've got. So,
Well, uh,
yeah, I like Jeff. To me, you've got the deeper voice, which is better for announcing.
I'm
You've
an
got the
alto.
Yeah, so that your voice lends itself to announcing, I think.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well,
I
I
mean,
think.
it's not James Earl Jones, but I mean, it's
Oh,
there.
yeah, he passed away.
Yeah, sure did. And another one, what's the other guy that's always on those voice commercials? Played a lot of cowboy movies, and I can't. Sam Elliott is another one. Has a real
Oh,
deep type voice. He's always on
yeah.
these
I never thought of
commercials.
my voice as being deep because I am an alto. I'm sort of
Yeah,
mid range.
yeah.
You know. Um, I asked you a lot of questions. Do you have any? And it's okay if you don't. Do you have any questions of me?
Any
Because like,
questions of you? Now,
yeah,
are when you get the 24 season coming up, that's coming
yeah.
out in February or whatever, are you still going to play a 21 as well? Because they seem like they're awful similar. It seemed like you could just put the 21 aside and focus more on the 24. I don't know, but because you're going to
Yeah.
run the same players, to me, it's those seasons are so close. It might be. I don't know if that'd be too much overkill or not, but
Well, the honest answer to that would be I don't know.
hmm,
Okay. Right now, these are my active. This is not active football. But this is 1962. Here's 2021. My
right.
plan is to do
And you
all.
still have 1911, right? Somewhere.
Well, we have to go to the Strat-O-Matic Cup board.
Oh, cupboard for that. Okay,
Yeah,
for
and
1911.
we have several sets. We have 69, 1911, and 1964.
Hmm.
Here are my and look at this. I have two
All those score
beautiful,
pads. Oh, you
two
got rule
two
books.
two of them crisp.
Yep.
And yeah, we have enough pads for about a year and a quarter
There you go.
at 2 games a day. But no, I think I'll be rather bored with 2021. Uh, and I'm going to do 2024. I'll probably put
Yeah.
2021 on hold.
Yeah. I was because you were saying that 21's kind of like a practice. I figured it gets you familiar with the players
Yeah.
and the new rules and so forth, and then you're be ready to go. So
But I don't want to let people think I'm abandoning it.
yeah.
So I'm gonna
Well,
put on
24 is almost like a continuation because it's just
in
you're
a
going
way,
forward. So.
but you'd be surprised how much it can change in 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to 2024, and I'm looking
But
forward
I do enjoy
also.
your pronunciations though, because it's
Yeah,
interesting to hear some of the players pronounce a different way because
you're too
not familiar
kind.
with them.
You're way too kind.
But I like JP Fireisen. That's one of my favorites. You just call him JP
Yeah,
instead
yeah,
of Fireisen.
they're
But there's no
the
tildes and there's no accent marks. So there's
yeah, and
and
you
there's
know
one
what?
guy. There's one guy on the in 21. I think he was with the Red Sox named Enrique Hernandez.
Yeah.
But he really goes by Kike Hernandez. That's his name. All the announcers call him
Oh,
Kike Hernandez. However, they don't put the tilde on there. So if you don't have the tilde under Kike, it's an offensive term, and that's why they don't
oh,
do it.
that's funny. And
Because
I'm Jewish.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. But if they
That's
just put the
funny.
tilde on there like they do on his real, because it's a Spanish name, it's Kike.
Yeah,
But it's like if you ever heard of Chipper Jones from Atlanta.
yeah,
Was a baseball player. His real name was Larry, but you never put Larry Jones on a Strat card. It was always Chipper Jones on a Strat
right,
card. Well, it's the
right.
same thing with Enrique Hernandez. His real name, I mean, the name everybody
What
knows him by is Kike.
what team was he on before the Red Sox?
He was on the Dodgers for a while.
That's right.
Yeah. But I think in 21 he was with the, and he might have went back to the Dodgers, but I think on 21 he was with Boston, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I think getting the 2024 set in February
Mm-hmm.
will prepare me to better understand real world in 2025.
Yep. Pretty much that way you can watch the season when it starts for real.
Right, and I might subscribe to MLB for the year just to have a feel for real world baseball.
Yep.
Because I really don't. You say you don't know it that much current day, but you seem to know all the players. You know it
Well,
very
not
well.
all of them, but quite a few. Not all of them.
Well, most of them. You're able to pull out a pinch hitter
Yeah.
off the top of your head
No,
and
I looked it
things.
up. I cheated. I looked it up. So
Oh,
it wasn't off the
okay.
top of my head. I did look it up and see who was on the rosters
For you mean for
for
that
Philly.
game?
Yeah, for that to see that Verlaine was there. Yeah, I didn't know that off the top of my head. I had to look that up.
But he didn't. He didn't pinch hit in the game in the real world.
Not in the real world, no, but he was on the roster. He could have.
And
He
you
could have
sure he
pinched
was
it.
a right-handed hitter?
Yes, he was a right-handed hitter. Absolutely.
You sure that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yes, this Kike is a Spanish nickname for Enrique. Apparently, I don't. That's what Julio said. I don't know, for a fact,
And
but
it's with
that's
an
what he
E.
said. Yes,
Yeah. Boy,
Kike
that is.
with a hyphen over the E. But if you don't have the hyphen, then obviously it becomes a different word. And I guess all the game companies, not just
Oh
Strat, but
my
all the
God.
game companies don't want to go through that, so they
Oh
just
my
call him Enrique.
Lord, that is
Yeah, every game I
hilarious.
have, he's Enrique. There's not
And
a single game out
I
there that
have a
he's Kike.
twisted sense of humor. You know.
Yeah,
That is hilarious. Now again, I'm Jewish. I'm not a. By the way, I'm not a Zionist. I'm not, a rabid Zionist.
yeah,
I don't have allegiance to any other country besides my own, the U.S. Even though even that I'm not hyper nationalist,
yeah.
and I've probably said too much already. But
But to answer Ben's question there,
yeah,
I don't have. There's no site per se. I go by the computer games that I have. The seasons, the people that make those computer games in the season, they already have the transactions and the line in the rosters for any given day. So I just pop on that day and it tells me all 25 guys that are there. There's not a website per se that has that.
now where do you get that?
On in the computer games, like the Strat-O-Matic computer game that I have up for 2000 and
Oh,
for 1987, when I do the 87 replay, each day I go to the Strat-O-Matic computer, it does the transactions in the background. So I know exactly who the 25 guys are that are available
right.
based on that. There's no website per se to do that. I
Yeah,
get it from the computer games,
right.
whether it
You
be
know,
Action PC or whether it be Strat-O-Matic.
right. I uh, I thought it was Sunday today. You know that for some
Well,
reason.
when I went to work yesterday, I thought it was a Monday. So
Yeah,
it's
I
getting,
went to. My son said he thought it was a Monday.
yeah.
Yesterday.
Yeah,
Yesterday.
because when you don't go to work for a day, then you come in, it's like you feel like you're starting the week over again. So it's kind of threw everything off a
And
little
I
bit.
went out and I'm saying, why is the garbage? I take the garbage out, I bring it back in
Mhm.
on the right days. And I'm saying, why is the garbage out on a Sunday? And why does the whole neighborhood have their garbage out? And I realized it's a Saturday.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this. I was a little bit anxious, a little bit hyper, but if you ever want to do it again, you let me know.
Absolutely. If anytime you feel like you need to chat or want to chat or anybody, that goes for anybody, not just you, but anybody. I'll talk to anybody about the hobby. I don't care if it's Strat or
Right,
a different game,
right,
And in fact, I've noticed a lot of times on YouTube in general, chats like this outperform gameplay because people seem to like to hear about what people are doing and how, like a gameplay,
absolutely,
you might get 200 views, but on a chat, you might get 500 views, It's
absolutely,
just for
and
whatever reasons, you would think the hobby would be the gameplay would be the thing, but people seem to want to know the people behind the hobby and what's going on and behind the curtain, so to speak.
absolutely.
So,
No,
but I mean,
you're right,
my my
and
my
I
my
feel this.
yeah, my setup is not very unique. In fact, I'll flip this around real quick. You can see
Yeah, why don't you?
that that's what I have right here. That's what holds my phone up over the table,
Oh,
and
is
I have
your
my thing here and my
is your
dice
phone
tray.
on a tripod right now?
Not right now. I'm holding it in my hand, but that's
Oh,
the
okay.
tripod I use. Is I
Well,
use this.
since you do that, this could be a sort of something we could do here toward the end. Can you show us, since you're mobile now,
Hmm.
can you show us your entire setup, including where you store your teams, your sets, or is that not feasible?
Oh well, I mean, I'll pull out the let me
You don't
move my.
have to pull anything out, but
Let me. No, it's right here in front of me. Let me just move my
yeah,
coffee cup so I don't spill anything. I
because
don't want
I
any.
think you have a lot of
I
sets.
don't want. Yeah, I do have a lot. I have about 40 sets, but
My lord.
most of them are in containers. Um,
Oh, okay.
but the one I'm playing with right now, it's in the box, and I've got these envelopes, and the teams are all in the envelopes. That's how I store them. I don't use a rubber band. You notice the rubber bands are still here.
Right.
So that's where they stay. Now, 1 second. Let
And there
me.
were 12 teams there.
No, yeah, this the American League, yeah.
Right. Yep.
And I've still got the cards over here from where I played the last game. I haven't put them back in the envelope yet, but
Right.
most of the stuff when I get it all straight, it's in here. And I've
Right.
got my ballpark sheet here and my pitching cards. I don't need the pitching cards because we use DH in this league. But I've
Right.
got all the stuff in the background, for the game parts that I bought. Um, let me set this down for 1 quick second, and I'll grab something real
Ben
quick.
asked a good question. Do you play
What's
any
that?
other games besides baseball?
Uh, I'm thinking about getting into one of the football games from Play, but they take so long.
Are
So,
you talking Strat-O-Matic or something else?
no, from Play.com, the History Maker company
Oh, History Maker.
does
Okay.
a football game called Second Season that I might look into.
Right.
But they have an express version, which time frame wise would be great for me. But I really
And
prefer a real game versus an express game. But
yeah.
my hobby time is kind of limited, so if I play something else besides baseball, it takes away from my baseball
Now,
time,
is
and I
that
really don't.
PC or cards?
No, that's cards and dice. It's cards and
Okay.
dice.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. 1 second. Let me get something real quick. I'm
Yeah,
just
I
gonna
don't
set the.
want you to tear up your place.
No, I'm just gonna set this down real quick and get
Yeah,
something.
sure. Or to get things out of order, it might be nice to take a gander at your tubs. I call them the tubs that you put it in.
Okay, there is the History Maker game that I was talking about. That's the
Right.
History Maker baseball.
Right.
Now, as far as storing seasons go, what I normally do is I have a tub like this,
Yeah.
and all
That's a great.
the teams
Great.
are in the envelopes, and I just go through here and I just pick them all out. Like I've got the '79 season right here.
That's a great way to store.
And this is the original '79 from back in the old days. These old looking cards from
The original.
1979. Yeah, the
Yeah.
original 1979 cards.
And may I
You
ask
know,
where
so.
you got those tubs?
Oh, I got these at Walmart.
Walmart. Okay.
Yep, they're like $1.25 a piece.
Really, I could probably
Yep.
find them online. Even.
And then I get number 7 coin envelopes.
Oh,
They have 6 coin envelopes for the season that don't have a lot of cards. I use 6 coin envelopes for the teams like 2021 that has like 50 players. They
yeah.
won't fit in there, so I use number 7 coin envelopes.
Okay.
That's where I get those from.
Interesting. I don't have any desire to put them in envelopes.
And there's my version of the old board. I
You
just pulled
see,
that out.
that's worth money.
Yeah. Oh, well, mine's in rough shape. It's kind
I
of
don't care
got,
how rough it is.
it's got little dings on it and whatnot. But
I would buy that from you.
So it's very rough shape.
No, but hold on to that. That is,
But there's a Fall Classic. That's one of the games I bought. Fall
Right.
Classic.
Right. And all the tubs, where are they located? Because you have 4
They're down.
years.
Some of them are up here. The ones I use most often are upstairs. The rest of them are on a bookshelf in the living room.
Yeah.
They're all stacked up, and I've got not only do I have the tubs, but I've got this one's not very pretty. Let's see if I can find a better version of this. Here we go. Like it'll say Strat. Well, you can't even see it in here. This is not a good example, but I'll have like it'll say like Strat and what year it is. So I just put it on the side
Oh,
right
yeah,
here.
yeah.
So before I even open the tub, I know what it is. I don't have to go searching for it. I can say, okay,
Oh, sure.
here's my Strat 79 set right here.
Right. It's a nice thing.
Yeah. So that's what I use to store the cards. And of course the the old famous dice tray that I bought years ago.
We need you on that tower.
Yes, you want me on that tower.
I may find your existence reprehensible and grotesque.
Yes.
But that was.
And there's something in that line about he says something about he's there to give him that freedom, and you want to question how he provides that freedom or something.
Right. I wish you would just say thank you and
be
on your way.
Be on your way. Exactly. And then the Demi Morgan said, I object strenuously. Strenuously object. So.
But that was some scene, and they incarcerated him.
Yeah. And of course, that's one of my favorite. You have a cutout version for yourself, but I have the original here that I use for that. The super advanced.
Oh, yeah.
You cut it out, and I also have.
What did you do?
I didn't do anything with it. You cut it out. I have the original thing here in the thing.
Sure.
But,
now I have 3. I have 2 sets of instructions never used.
Yeah, and so I also have.
Very nicely.
I also incorporate injuries if it comes up just on that game. So that I roll the D20 on if it comes up as a possible injury to see if they stay in the game or not. So
here's Bill Ivamy, who I have a question from Bill. Do you guys worry about using a player early in the season when he is a late season call-up?
I do not, because I have the computer tell me who's on the roster at that time. So I never use a guy that's not on the roster.
It's a very, very good question.
Yeah.
So I would say I'm not worried about it, but Bill, I'm concerned about it.
Yeah. And more so concerned if he uses a guy that's not even on the team.
Well, yeah. And that's why I got to tell you something.
Traded or something.
Bill and Dave, I am more and more when I'm playing the 2021 sets. If I'm looking to use a pinch hitter, I'm using historical lineups, so there's no problem there. But if I'm using to use a pinch hitter, a substitution, a reliever, I'm going to Baseball Reference every time to see, first of all, were they on the team?
Right.
Okay, but sometimes, and I'm a little resistant. Sometimes I build up resistances to using retro sheets.
I use that all the time. That's one of my go-tos is retro sheet.
Right, or
because it gives me the dates that they played.
Exactly, and I need to learn how to do that. But
you also have the box score tells you who pinch hit and who were the relief pitchers in real world, so you can start with there.
Right,
and then go from. I mean, I don't. just because the guy pitched in the game in real world doesn't mean I have to use him in my replay. It's just
Exactly. I use
I
it
use it as a
guideline.
guideline, but not anything else. But if he pitched 2 innings the previous day in my replay, then obviously he's got to rest.
Right.
Like you had a guy, I think. What did he just bought the 49 season?
Saying?
I was say you had a guy that I think it was it today? He pitched like 3. The guy for Philadelphia that won the game at the end, the reliever, he pitched like 3 innings. So I'm assuming he would have to rest for game 2 because he went 3 innings in that game.
I think so.
Yeah.
If not 2 days.
Yeah. So at least 1 day anyway.
Yeah.
So he bought the 49 season. He says
he had his eye on the 49 season.
Yeah. I have the 49 season in History Maker, but there's so many walks in 1949. I don't like that season because there's overabundance of walks. If you look, you can look it up. It's an overabundance of walks. Yeah.
Bill,
terrible with the walks.
Can I ask Bill a question?
Absolutely.
We go back and forth here. How do you like the set? How many players you getting per team? Because I was thinking of 49, because although it's 47 is nice because that was Jackie's first year.
Yep, I got 47.
So. He preferred 47 is available too. By the way, he preferred to be known as Jack Robinson. And
really, not Jackie.
Jackie was a nickname, if you will, that was assigned to him. Maybe they thought it would make him sound a little less threatening.
Yeah. Well, they tried to call Clemente Bobby, didn't they?
Because they didn't insane. That's insane.
Yeah, because they didn't want to have an Hispanic name. They wanted to have an American name or something. They called him Bob. Wanted to call him Bobby. The media did, not the team, but the media.
Well, if we want to give them the benefit of the doubt, we would say they just assumed, and you know what happens when you assume.
When you assume, yep.
that since he's a Roberto, he would be a Robert, and he'd be a Bob. It's a beautiful example of ignorance.
Yep.
So you don't know how many players are in a set. 49 is a better year, I think, than 47.
Yeah, I just got 47 because it was Jackie Robinson's year, rookie year.
But
so
Jack Robinson, if I may, was, and you can go Google that. You should find something on that. Jack was MVP in 49.
Yep.
And he had his greatest year in 49. Do you know sometimes he batted cleanup?
Yeah, also he played first base, second base, third base, outfield. And he went all around. So
I had no idea. I always thought him as the perennial leadoff.
I would think it'd be a number 2 hitter, maybe.
A number 2 hitter, and
because he could bunt and he can hit and run and things like that.
Yeah, I'm listening to a real world broadcast, and they're giving the line.
I'm thinking Duke Snyder would be the cleanup hitter, or Gil Hodges or somebody like that.
I don't remember which year it was. It was maybe 56. Do you know, by the way, Don Larson's Perfect Game is on YouTube?
Oh, it is? Oh, okay.
It's Kinescope or something like that. And it's really amazing to watch. Bill, you don't know how many? You don't know how many. Okay.
No, I don't have the 47 set in front of me, or I'd be able to tell you on mine how many cards came with 47.
Because sometimes Strat-O-Matic tells you how many per team or how many are in the year. And I believe for this year, they don't tell you exactly.
I know with the newer season with the extra players, they say it's 230 extra players or whatever the number is. They give you an exact number of extra players.
Well, they do that, but also on the sets. By the way, back to Bill's question, I'm looking now. I'm not terribly concerned. I'm certainly not going to spend my time worrying.
No.
I worry about things like the welfare of my son.
Yeah.
I'm sorry
I sent you that one email for the Minnesota game that had I was going to try to help you out and give you the exact 25 minutes, everybody that was technically available for that game, bullpen and benches and whatnot.
432 total cards divided by 20.
Is that for 49?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
and that's 21 a team.
Well, they didn't use that many players back then either, so that's the other thing to.
True. This is the year of the Boys of Summer.
16 teams.
Oh no,
16 teams.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's 16 teams.
Yeah. 27 per. Usually, it's 27 is a minimum.
It is 27
because each team usually has 3 sheets.
It is 27, and it's $72, folks. And I think you can get 14 and change off that. $14.
Which you need to be able to pay for the shipping, the ungodly shipping costs.
And you might as well get something else while you're
I'm saying you might as well bulk order so make your shipping worthwhile.
Do you think, and I'm going to let you go because I got to run, but do you think, I mean, what are you going to say? Do what you want, right?
Right. Yep.
The idea of me having maybe not 3 simultaneous replays, but maybe five.
Oh, wow.
You know, and just having, it's like candy.
I would get confused going back and forth, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I've had 2 or 3 at a time, and that was really overwhelming. I can't imagine having 5.
Well, I guess I'll keep it at 3 then.
Yeah, I think 3 is a good number. I mean, I want to do something besides this Strat-O-Matic one because I need some variety, you know.
Oh, a different game.
Yeah, maybe, inside pitch or just something different.
Right.
To have a little mini. Maybe I'm thinking about doing a like a pitcher replay. Somebody had a really good year as a pitcher playing because that's only like 25 or 30 games, and that's
right. Well,
it's
Dave,
enough to do it, but it's not long enough where it's going to take up a god awful amount of time.
Like Ben says, it's nice to bounce around for variety.
Yep, absolutely.
And he's got a nice range, 1940 to 2018. So
yeah, my first set is my oldest set is 1920, and my newest set is 2023.
How do you like the 20 set?
I haven't played it. I separated them and never got around to playing them yet. So
okay.
I was hoping they would have 1919. That's what I wanted, but 20s are close. And I wanted 11, but they were sold out, so I couldn't get 11. So.
Oh, I have 11.
Yeah, I know you have 11. I wanted to get that, but
I could loan those to you.
Oh no, I would never get around to playing because I'm tied up in this 87 thing for right now. So,
but these can get pricey because if we're looking at you have 40 seasons.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, at least 40.
Of Strat-O-Matic.
Yeah.
I know that's through the years, but doesn't that come to roughly $700 worth?
Probably more than that. Yeah. But some of them I bought used, secondhanded. So from this guy named Moonlight Graham that sells used sets. So I got like 4 or 5 seats. Moonlight Graham is this website.
Moonlight Graham. Whoops.
What was that?
I don't know.
It just restarted all of a sudden. On my end, it restarted. That's weird.
Oh my, yeah.
Hope it's not going to make a second video out of it.
David.
Yeah. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Me too. It was super. And I'm actually going to give it a listen to.
I hope you got to ask all the questions you wanted to ask.
And I know I always get sort of, I wrote them down.
Yeah.
And, the only thing I didn't ask, I did ask you about your, where you were born and raised.
Right.
You're in Virginia, how you first heard of Strat-O-Matic, and I can know it off the top of my head that you saw the ad, you didn't buy it, you bought the PC game, then you went to Card and Dice about 2015, or was it 2001?
No, 2001 is when I bought the cards. I never played them. I bought the sets, just held on to them. I didn't start playing until 15.
And you've played an enormous. Just to wrap up, you played an enormous number.
9 different games.
I even have little notes I made.
Yeah. Payoff pitch, inside pitch, history maker,
Fall
replay,
Classic, season
Fall
ticket.
Classic, season ticket, even APA once in a while.
So. Even APA. You still will play APA once in a while?
Once in a blue moon I will, just to be different.
And, what you like, what you don't like. And we know your boxers.
Yeah.
We may not know if you're Beatles or Rolling Stones because you like both, but that's okay.
I like both. I'm kind of more toward the Beatles. I think Beatles have more, and plus the Beatles had the four guys that individually had songs too, so
Sure.
that they had careers as well. So
Right.
even Ringo had a few hits, by
Well,
himself. So.
he sure did. The Rolling Stones are arguably the longest running major. They are the longest running major group,
Yeah.
or super group, if you will.
Yep.
Like the Rolling Stones, the Who, Led Zeppelin, CSN. They're the
Yep.
longest running, and they're still going, I think.
Yep. And Dav, I have no idea how many total games I've played. I haven't kept track. Who knows?
Oh,
I mean, you can count the videos I've done, but I've played a whole lot more offline than I have online. So.
Bob Cole asked, what keeps you motivated to go through a whole season? I think I might have started 117 different seasons throughout my life. It's a good question.
Well, what keeps me motivated is I pick a season that I'm interested in, and the players keep me interested, and the fact that I want to finish keeps me interested.
And my answer to that is it's got to be the right season.
Mm-hmm.
But the only season I've ever completed was 69, and I remain surprised that I was able to do it. That's like 1,900 games or something.
Yeah, but you didn't start recording those or start streaming those until you got well into the season.
And it was
when I first started, I think you were already like in August or something.
It was late July.
Late July, okay, yeah.
In terms of the schedule.
Yeah.
And I felt that when I had reached about midpoint, that it was impossible to continue. I was halfway through, and all along I always said, I'm not counting. I'm not eager to finish. Mm-hmm. I'm enjoying the process.
Yeah, I'm not putting any pressure to pick a date to say I've got to be finished by X number of date.
And the most important thing is enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Whether
enjoy the
you
journey.
finish it or not.
It's not the destination; it's the journey. So.
Exactly. And what good does it do if you're just playing to finish?
Yeah, I don't want to be rushing through things just to get it done.
And I got re-engaged by. It took me 5 years. I got re-engaged through YouTube, broadcasting the games, and one thing led to another. July turned into August, and before I know it, I was in September. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah. Well, I know when I'm driving around at work during the morning hours, I always enjoy having your game on in the background.
You have Bluetooth?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, if I'm driving, I can't always comment, but I certainly can listen.
Okay, kudos. Never make the games feel like a job, Kenyon says. Yeah. And when that happens, it can happen to all of us where somehow you're just not in the mood, but you started a game. That's time not to play.
Exactly.
Okay.
Never play out of have to. It's because you want to.
Exactly.
Never an obligation.
Yeah. Okay, we'll see.
And if you need to take a week off and chill and come back fresh, do that. If it takes that.
And in fact, I had to do that because I was suspended from YouTube for a week for uploading graphical violence.
Oh, gracious!
And
YouTube can be a little funny about stuff like that. Same with copywriting.
It was just for educative purpose. I got.
If you play a little snippet of music, they'll ding you for copyright.
Well, you got to really be careful. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't ever play other copyrighted music. Yeah. And I'm very careful to get non-copyrighted free. Otherwise you'd be hearing the Beatles.
Exactly.
Okay. I'll see you.
All right. Have a good one.
Thanks a million, Dave.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. Take care.